All right. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome to Clemson and to the Smart Family Media Center new offensive line coach, Matt Luke. He does not have any opening comments or statements or anything, so we'll go straight to questions. If y'all can, please identify your name and affiliation prior to asking a question so we can start to get to know everybody. That would be greatly appreciated. So whoever wants to lead us off, fire away.
David with TigerNet.
Yep.
Nice to meet you. When you took the time off from Georgia, time to kind of reset a little bit. At what point did you say to yourself, okay, maybe the itch is there and I'm ready to get back into it?
Yeah, that was it was a decision for me that was about family, and I really enjoyed that time. But also too, with my kids and my wife, they're a football family, and that so the first year was pretty good, but then we just started kind of getting that itch a little bit, and in my mind I just felt like it was time. Like I really enjoyed the taking the kids to lunch and bringing them to weights in the morning and going to all their games. It was a great time, but at the same time they missed the locker room and they missed being on the field and going to bowl games and stuff like that. So we just all sat down as a family and felt like it was time. And then obviously when Dabo called, I had always had unbelievable respect for the type of program that he ran. And just from the outside looking in, the family and the faith and all those things, it all just kind of came together with the right timing, and just a chance to be a part of a great program and do something special.
And you used to kind of eat during the season. It's families come on Wednesday nights for supper, and
Right.
Coaches, if your kids have ball games, you can go. Don't be here all the time. Was that part of it? Was that part of it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's part of it. You want to go to a great program, and I think that's what makes this place special. And I'm again excited to be a part of that.
From South Carolina and Greenville. What should fans expect from you when they look down on that sideline and they see you? What can the fans expect from your O-line and from you as a person?
Yeah, I think I've always been just a guy. We're gonna be an O-line that's connected, and we're gonna play together. And I'm an emotional person, so we're gonna play with emotion and play with toughness. This game's meant to be played a certain way, and we're going to demand that we play that way. And but we got to it's been a fast start. I'm trying to learn the plays and learn the guys. Coach, Dabo put the names on their helmets for me, so at least he helped me out right there. But it's been a great start, and the bowl game gives me a jump start. The only way you build relationships is go out there on the grass and work together. And we got a long way to go, but I told them that after practice. We do have a long way to go, but we're going to do it together. And I think as long as we stick together, we play really, really hard, play the game the way it's supposed to be played, we'll be fine.
You have a new-ish offensive coordinator here as well, and Garrett Riley. What have you already seen from him, and what part did he play in your excitement of coming to this program, about the offense and what he's done in his career already?
Right, and that's a good thing. For me, I've kind of been in several different offenses. I've been in spread offenses. We've been in pro style. So just doing it, unfortunately or unfortunately, as long as I have, that's why I got all this gray hair. Just I've been in several different offenses. But he's very, very innovative. They call him an air raid guy, but he's done in the last 4 games what he needed to do to win football games with running the ball. So that's impressed me is how he is kind of molded and changed to do what he needed to do to win football games. So I thought that was really good.
With Watch Fox out of Columbia. Just talked to Blake Miller out there with high praise for you and the energy that you bring here. Sorry this has already been asked, but what's the response been like with the guys you're working with?
I think they're hungry. I think they want to learn. They want to get better. And I can't ask them to bring energy if I don't bring the energy. And I think the O-line has always been a special group just because they all stick together and they're all hungry. They want to get better. And we're kind of the only group out there that doesn't have a stat. Like our stat is the scoreboard. And so I'm just excited to get to work. And again, we got a long way to go, but we're going to stick together and we're going to put the work in. And we kind of get a bonus time, working up to this bowl game that we kind of get some extra practices to get to know each other.
Chuck Fowler with the state. What's your thoughts on high school recruiting versus transfer portal recruiting? Dabo has mentioned that you guys may look for a portal offensive line on top of high school guys.
Right.
How do those kind of mesh together?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always looking for high school, and that's the way this program has been built. Is you're taking a freshman, you're building them, and this is about like the complete person. with the Paul journey and all the things that they do here that are special. But in this day and age, if there is a guy that can come help us, especially if a guy that's transferring has got multiple years where we can develop him, that's even better. I don't think you're necessarily looking for a guy to come in and plug and play, because we got good players. But anybody that we can come in and develop, I think that's what we're looking for.
Mark Wyman from WIFF in Greenville. You mentioned some of the draw about coming to Clemson. When Coach Sweeney was in here earlier, he said that you told him this might have been one of the few jobs you would actually accept to get back into football. So I was wondering if you could just expand on those thoughts about why this felt like the right fit for you.
Well, the whole time I've been in coaching, we've always competed against each other in recruiting, and I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for what they've stood for here. And to now have an opportunity to come be a part of it is really, really cool. And I think this is a place where I think my family would be happy. It's pretty close. It's in the South. It's in my recruiting footprint where I've spent a lot of time. And it's going to be around really, really good people. And we're going to have a chance to compete for national championships. So when you add all of it together, it was a no-brainer.
Paul Strelo, Tiger Illustrated. Come in, you've got recruiting on the road, you've got this to pick up, but the transfer portal, how does that add a different layer to your responsibilities just within these first week or two?
Yeah, I think you got to really do a really good job of evaluating. For me, the challenge is, okay, what do we have here? I've only been on the grass with my guys twice. So what do we have here versus what are we looking for? And it can't be, you got to see next year, but what about 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road? Like, how are we building this thing and building your roster? And so I think that's the challenge for me is, okay, what do we have up front? And then how are we going to build that roster moving forward? So but the biggest challenge is knowing what we have, and then how are we going to fix it and get better.
How's it feel to be back in it?
Really got a little bit tired. My voice, I got my coaching voice back a little bit, but it's been fun. It's just been good to get out there and coach ball again. Like I said, it's only been 2 practices, but even the meetings and the guys are hungry to learn. They want to get better. It's been good.
If there's one thing you can get across to the guys in this time you've called bonus time,
Right.
What is it? What's that driving force right
Yeah,
now?
just connection, playing together. Like if you know the guy next to you and you're connected to him and you know his why and you know why he's playing, you're going to play harder for him than if you're just going out there trying to play for yourself. So we want a group that's connected, and I really feel like that's so important in the O-line room, especially. We don't want to be out there 5 pennies. We want to be 1 nickel, and we want to be playing together.
Larry Williams,
Yeah.
Illustrated.com. It's interesting to hear that it wasn't just you who kind of missed the field in the locker room, but it was your family as well.
That's right.
Can you maybe
Yeah.
expand on that some? And did that surprise you? Maybe a little bit?
It did. It probably, I don't know if it surprised me a little bit, but the fact that they missed, that's all they ever knew. And I think the kids being in the locker room, being on the field, going to the bowl games, having the kids over for dinner, all those things, you miss that part of it. And again, the time I had was unbelievable, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But what the beauty of it was we had some other opportunities last year. Then we sat down, okay, hey, it's been a year. What do y'all think? And so this was all us together. It's not like a decision, hey, I'm ready to get back, I'm going back. This was a family decision, and it was one we didn't take lightly. But again, because of all the stuff we said earlier, I think that's what makes it made it a no-brainer for us.
Are they going to stay in Athens and finish out the school year?
The school year,
Yeah.
and then come. Yep.
Okay.
So what was it like, sitting at the table and you go, hey guys, Dabo Sweeney called me. What was the boys' reaction to, hey, I've got this chance to go?
Well, if y'all have children, y'all know that children, like I raised 2 kids the same way, but they're totally different. so that their reactions are different. But it was one that we just felt like it was time, and I'm sure my wife, as much as she liked having me around the house, she was probably ready for me to get out a little bit and start coaching. But no, we sat down and we just felt like it was time.
And it's not like you were gone a decade.
No. Yeah.
Have you given any thought to, man, I can't wait, like, I'm not going to rush bowl practice, but to put the headset back on and get out on the field in that Gator Bowl setting and actually do what I was born to do? Have you given any thought about what that's going to be like?
Well, so in 2019, I was fired at Ole Miss, and I came into a very similar situation coaching the Sugar Bowl at Georgia. So I've kind of been through a transition like this before. You're coming in, you got to learn the offense, learn the people, you got to recruit. So I've had experience doing this before. And what I learned is like that preparation for the bowl game, you know all the players because you have to. You got to learn the scheme. You got to get out there, and that's the best way to build relationships is out there getting baptized by fire. You're not just kind of out there, you come out here and watch or whatever, but it's not like getting out there and getting your hands dirty. You get to know each other better that way.
I read an interview you did, I guess, a couple months after you stepped away, and you said it dawned on you when y'all were at Disney World and you're about to get on a Harry Potter ride.
That's right.
Having to make sure recruits can come to the
Right.
Clemson game.
It was. I think we were playing in Charlotte, and they had some kind of new rule that recruits could come to a neutral site game. So they passed that rule. So we were all scrambling, trying to get recruits to come to that game in Charlotte, and so it was Cooper's birthday, and again, I think we all carry that pressure and that weight and the anxiety to be a great recruiter, to be a great coach and a great father, and that 2 years off, it's not about the weight, it's about how you carry the weight. And you can, when you're present with your kids, you need to be present with your kids. And when it's time to work, it's time to work. And I think, having that work-life balance is the one thing that I learned that's really, really important.
Nothing against any other staff, but do you think there's more of an emphasis on that?
I really like what Dabo is doing here, but Kirby does a great job, and Coach Cutcliffe did a great job, and all the Coach Freeze. I mean, everybody is unique in their own way, because the pressure really comes internal. It's the pressure you put on yourself to be good at what you do. But Dabo and the family atmosphere, sure, that's something I'm excited about. My kids being able to be around, the more the better.
ClemsonTigers.com. Going back to the portal, coming in so late in our recruiting cycle, how difficult is it when things sped up to the 18th degree?
It's difficult because recruiting, coaching, everything is about relationships. And when I've been a good recruiter, it's because you spent 3 years building a relationship with somebody. So now there may be a kid in the portal that maybe I recruited and had already developed that with, but it's very, very tough because to me it's all about relationships. So you have to build those if you want to be a successful recruiter. So coming in and you don't know anything about a kid, it does make it adds a level of difficulty for sure.
John Blau with the Post-Career in Charleston. I know you said you did this process once before in Georgia, but what is it like in terms of not knowing the terminology and trying to get that translated and figuring out?
So it's just speaking a different language. Football is football, so it's the same plays. It's it's inside zone, it's counter, it's the normal protections. It's just what are we calling it? What were they calling it? How can I give my players a chance? How can I give Putman a chance to win this game? This is his last game at Clemson, so I don't want to come in here and change everything for him. I want to give him a chance to win this football game. So how can I marry my teaching and then eventually get to it, if that makes sense? That's the challenge. You want to give your guys an opportunity to be successful. But there is some carryover with the line calls and the terminology. It's just me learning what do they call this. And so that's just me getting out there and doing it. And again, going to a bowl game, actually going on the grass and practicing it, you learn it much faster.
So you say like 10% there, 20% there,
Percentage, I'm probably a little ahead of that. You got to give me a little credit, probably 30 maybe. 33%, let's say, okay?
I love watching you out there. You were giving it this, and you hands on.
Right.
Do you enjoy the teaching part of the game?
I do. That's to me. That's what it's all about. It's about teaching. It's about trying to get a young man to reach something, his potential, like even further than he thinks he can go. You take them to a place with relationships. And they know you care about them, you can coach them really, really hard. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop those relationships. And as soon as they realize, hey, Coach Luke's got my back, then I can coach them really, really hard. And so that's the goal, is being that connected, tight group that then you could take them to that next level.
You mentioned those relationships, and you mentioned somebody like Will, who this is it. This
Yeah.
is all he's got. This is his last moment with Clemson
Right.
football. How much have you already connected? I mean, like, he's a guy that you kind of can't help.
A lot. So David Cutcliffe, Tommy Tuberville left my senior year. I was the senior captain on the center. He left and went to Auburn. David Cutcliffe came in and coached my bowl game. Same thing. He gave us an opportunity to win. And I'll never forget that. I mean, that's something I'll thank Coach Cup. I mean, I have that memory for the rest of my life. So again, just my experiences that I've been part of, it helps you when you go through something like this.
And what sticks out to you? Like, what do you, when you think of that memory, when it comes up, like, what instantly hits for you?
So he calls me into my office. He says, Matt, what do y'all call this play? And I told him. So he was going to call his plays, but use the terms that we called it. So he called me in his office, and we went through that whole deal. And he was like, well, have you ever thought about being a coach? I was like, no, sir. He's like, well, why don't you come be a coach? It changed the rest of my life. So that's kind of what comes to my mind. So,
You
yeah.
said your sons had different reactions with
Yeah.
very different people. So
Right.
which one was really excitable?
Well, I mean, they both were excited just in their own way. And they just kind of, one wears their feelings on their sleeve and the other one's just kind of quiet. But they're both excited, and they were, when I brought the Clemson gear home, I was like, probably don't need to wear it all to school the first day. Let's just kind of go slowly into it. But they were both excited. They really both want to go down the slide. That's what they mentioned to me. So we're gonna have to get down the slide pretty quickly, I think. So. My younger one's more quiet than my older one's a little bit more, gung ho a little bit. So.
Matt, your kids played in North County, right?
They do. Yeah.
Okay. And Mickey Kahn recruited over there. Did you have any pre-existing relationships with coaches here before coming over here?
So I had a relationship with Coach Kahn through Robert Kimdichie, the recruitment. He was the coach there, so we had a little bit there. There's the church I go to. The pastor there was his first team chaplain at Grayson, so there's a lot of connection between North and Coach Kahn. There's a lot of people that were there that are there now. So yeah, there's some carryover. And then Dabo and I were at the ACC SEC Chick-fil-A Challenge, a couple years together. So we ran across them. Woody and Coach Cutt had a big, they were close for several years at Tennessee. So there was some carryover there for sure.
What did Debo tell you when he called you that he needed you to do to get this offensive line back to where?
No, he just asked me if he said he was gonna, he had made a change, and was I ready to get back into it, and so I talked to my family. It wasn't about, hey, I need you to do this. He was just, hey, I think we can do this together. We want to do something really special and get this thing back to where we all want it to be. And again, it comes back to that connected, all working together and doing it together. And I'm excited about that opportunity.
You said there were some opportunities last year. As you talked about it with your family, was the message from you to them pretty much, it's got to be the right opportunity and just
Exactly. I mean, there was no need to rush back or anything like that. It just needed to be everything: location, people, the whole package. It had to be right, and this was right.
You watched Clemson at all this season? Did you have any knowledge of anything before you decided to take the job?
Yeah, I'm sure I watched games. I watched a lot of games, in the time. But yeah, I probably watched I don't know, 2 or 3 games. I didn't watch every game, but just like I was the casual guy at home watching the games. So the big games and they were on TV, I watched it some. So, but not every game. I wasn't like an expert. So, coming in, watching the tape and trying to get a feel for what we're good at, and try to give the guys the best chance to compete against Kentucky. So.
Are you excited to kind of get them in pads?
Yeah, I mean, the game's played in pads. So that's the only way you get better at football is practice football. And so you got to go out there in pads and get after it and kind of find out where they're at.
I was watching you coach. There were 2 times you're saying body presence, eyes, and
Yep.
transfer of the weight. What are those things?
So body presence is the inside half of a double team and trying to get my back half right through the middle of his body. But most of the time you're double teaming to somebody. So you got body presence on the down man, but your eyes are on the linebacker. So body presence on the double, then eyes on the backer. So if that makes sense. Okay.
Just obviously you coached a national championship offensive line at Georgia. What
Right.
made that unit so great? Is there other things that you translate to?
Connection, toughness, and that's the emotion, playing for each other. And it was a group that they went through COVID together and battled through. They got close several times and then finally got over the hump. But the connection and the toughness, the mental toughness, because there's going to be a game where you get tested. You got to dig down deep. You got to find something extra, and it might, your why and why you're playing has to be bigger than you being tired. You got to push through that, and that's what we got to get to.
Is there a preferred number of offensive linemen you'd like to have available to play, or like in your rotation?
We get 15 on scholarships. I'd like to have 15. That would be the goal. No, I mean you'd like to have 7 or 8 for sure that can go in there and play the game, because injuries are a part of the game, and we got some right now. We got a couple guys out, so the next man has to step up. You have to build depth. You will never go through a season offensive line and just have all 5 guys playing. It just doesn't happen. So you have to have guys ready to play. That's why reps are so important. We did a period for 10 minutes after practice for just the young guys getting reps, trying to get them ready. Like how many times can they do it over and over and over again? And one of the great parts of being at Clemson, their defense. I mean, you're playing against a great defense every day at practice. That's how you get better. And so I think that's a big deal.
Do we have any questions for Coach virtually from those on Zoom?
Yeah, Matt. This is Pete Yakabelli with the Associated Press here in South Carolina.
What's up, Pete?
Welcome to the state.
Hey, thank you.
A couple of quick ones for you. When you finally figure out where your office is and get there, do the football chops immediately kick right back in? Do you say, okay, this is how we're going to meet, this is how we're going to practice? Does it all come rushing back like riding a bicycle?
It is, so especially in the O-line meeting, that part of it, the X's and O's is, but you're coming into a new system. So what you want to try to figure out to do is, okay, what can I do to help? Like you try to figure out the lay of the land, and so what can I add to this? So you try to figure out, okay, what do I do best, and how can I add to this system? Because you don't want to just come in and try to go crazy. You want to try to okay, this is what they're doing, how can I help? So that's the process that we're in right now.
I was also going to ask, you've been a head coach before. Do you still have aspirations that someday, when the time's right, you might want to run your own program again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I made that decision probably 2 years ago when I decided to step away. In my mind, I was like, okay, I probably won't do that again. But again, you don't know the future. I mean, my dad taught me a long time ago, you do the best job you can where you're at, and then whatever happens after that is going to happen. So we're going to come here, and we're going to do everything we can to help Clemson win a national championship. And that's what we're going to do, and then whatever happens after that happens.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Anybody else in the room for Coach Luke?
Was there, when you did step away, there had to be some kind of out-of-body, sort of like, I can't believe I think Neil McCready, who I was talking to, said it might have been at the gym where you're hanging out with all the retired folks, and you're the young guy, and it's like, all right, this is kind of strange.
Right.
Can you sort of reflect back on that and what it was like, just when you're so programmed to be grinding all the time, and then you just shut it off?
My first, so the first spring I was off. My youngest son practiced with Andrew, Kirby's youngest son, and they were practicing, I think, up at the football facility, but they were having spring practice. So I was driving around spring practice, taking my son to baseball practice. I was like, I think that moment you're talking, I was like, that's kind of weird, but again, I really cherished that time. It was a great time, and a time that we can't, it was time you'll never get back. So it was really good for me. But I think together collectively, we just felt like, okay, it's time to go back to work.
Anybody else?
Coach Don Munson with Clemson Radio.
Hey, Don.
So how did you use the off time, I'll put it, to just grow personally? I mean, there had to be just not a blank period of time. How did you use that time to just grow personally?
Yeah, I think whenever you're, at the, in the head coach in the SEC, that you're coming over and you're competing to win a national championship, there's this anxiety and pressure that hangs over you all the time. To be able to step back from that and kind of in your mind flip back, okay, this is what's really important. You can still work really, really hard, but when you're at home, be present. There's a way to do that. And again, it's not we all carry the weight is how we carry the weight. And I think that's what I learned probably in that time.
Anyone else?
Johnny Faldudo with the Roar.
Johnny.
When you're recruiting guys, whether that's a transfer portal guy or a high school kid.
Right.
What are some traits that you're looking for in someone that you want to play for you, whether that's physically, mentally, their background, what kind of things do you look for?
So again, I'm going to initially identify them with size, athleticism, toughness. I want to see them jump off the tape, and we're gonna build it starting there. And then once we find that group, then we're going to dig in and we're going to get to know them as people and try to build that relationship. And then as you get to know them, you'll know pretty quickly which guys fit with you. And then however many you're taking, you have a set number. So if I want to sign this many, I'm going to bring this many on campus, and I need to hit on a certain percentage of those guys. But I'm going to identify talent, and you're going to see that jump off the tape. Then I'm going to get to know them, and then we're going to build that relationship and make the decisions from there. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yep.
Anyone else? All right, thank you for your time, Coach.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all. All right.